You won't live your dream by wishing. You live it by sacrificing. You will never make it not because you lack talent, but because you lack discipline. If you want a life that few ever touch, you must do what most never will. Every excuse delays the dream. Every comfort steals your momentum. Time is running out. You can either discipline yourself now or regret it later. The ones who win, they choose sacrifice today so they can stand in greatness tomorrow. What about you? In few moments, you will learn why big dreams demand big sacrifices and how to discipline yourself when motivation disappears and pressure rises. Your dream is not a fantasy, it is a responsibility. You may think your dream is some distant ideal, but what if I told you it's your assignment, something entrusted to you and no one else? That vision you keep seeing? It's not just a wish, it's a whisper from destiny. You've seen glimpses of it in quiet moments, in deep desires, in wild daydreams. But you keep hesitating. Why? Because the road demands more than wishes. It demands work. Big dreams are expensive. They cost time, comfort, excuses, and ego. But if you're willing to pay the price, they'll reward you with purpose, power, and peace. You get there by showing up when no one's clapping, by choosing clarity over chaos. Start by honoring your dream. Speak it aloud, write it down, prioritize it like your life depends on it, because in a way it does. In Genesis 37, Joseph saw a dream, but that dream led him to pits, prison, and betrayal before the palace, yet he didn't quit. So I ask you, are you treating your dream like a promise or like a maybe? What's stopping you from owning the responsibility that comes with vision? Success demands sacrifice before it rewards you. Everyone wants the crown, but who is truly willing to carry the cross? We marvel at success. We applaud the champions, admire the entrepreneurs, and envy the influencers. But what we rarely see is the pain before the platform, the tears behind the triumph, the invisible sacrifices that built the very stage others now stand on. Success is not an elevator ride to the top. It is a staircase soaked in sweat, tears, and time. And every step upward demands a piece of who you used to be. You want the result? Then you must respect the requirement. And the requirement is simple but never easy. Sacrifice, discipline. Doesn't feel good in the moment. Waking early, turning down temptation, saying no to instant gratification, none of it is glamorous. But success does not come to those who do what feels good. It bows to those who do what is essential. The person who achieves the dream is not the one who merely wishes for it, but the one who is willing to pay for it. Every dream has a price. What you refuse to give up may be the very thing keeping you from going up. Abraham promised generations, but asked to sacrifice his only son. Why? Because vision must be tested. Greatness cannot be handed to the unprepared. The question was never about Isaac. The question was about Abraham's heart. Would he trust the giver more than the gift? And that's still the question success asks you today. Will you trust the process more than the comfort? Will you sacrifice what you want now for what you want most? You weren't made to drift. You were made to decide. To draw the line, to rise each day with clarity, not confusion, purpose, not passivity. Success doesn't visit those who dabble, it honors those who dedicate. So the next time you whisper, "Why is it taking so long?" pause and ask yourself this instead. What haven't I let go of yet? What habit, what relationship, what excuse am I still holding on to that is keeping me from rising? Because dreams do not respond to interest, they respond to investment. They require your time, your energy, your belief, your consistency. You must stop asking success to meet you halfway when you haven't even stepped out the door. Success won't reward you because you want it. It rewards you because you became worthy of it. You say you want the crown, but are you willing to carry the cross? So today, choose the essential over the easy. Delay the dopamine, shut down the distractions. Trade convenience for conviction. And ask yourself, what's one thing I'm still clinging to that's costing me my calling? Then lay it down. Because the moment you give up what no longer serves you is the moment success starts to notice you. Sacrifice is not punishment, It is preparation, and once you're prepared, success has no choice but to come find you. The discipline of saying no is the gateway to saying yes to greatness. Every time you say yes to something meaningless, you are saying no to something meaningful. Let that truth settle into your spirit, because your future is not only being shaped by what you accept, it is being shaped by what you reject. The power of your destiny lies not just in action, but in refusal. You see, discipline is often misunderstood. It is not self-punishment. It is self-prioritization. It is the sacred art of protecting your purpose. Each no is a brick in the fortress of your future, and unless you master the courage to say no to what doesn't align, you will never have the capacity to say yes to what does. Greatness is not random. It is reserved for those who choose it daily. You can't construct a powerful life with weak boundaries. You can't reach the mountain while entertaining every valley that waves at you. The truth? Ordinary habits can never lead to extraordinary outcomes. You must decide, will you keep pleasing everyone else, or will you start honoring the call within you? Even Jesus, the ultimate embodiment of purpose, withdrew into the wilderness. Not to escape, not to impress, but to align. 40 days without food, without applause, without noise, so he could step fully into his assignment. Because clarity often follows consecration. In other words, you may not need to add more right now. You may need to subtract. Remove the distractions. Strip away the unnecessary. Silence the noise so the voice of destiny can finally be heard. If you feel confused, overwhelmed, or tired, it might not be because you're doing too little. It might be because you're saying yes too often. Yes to demands that drain you. Yes to people who pull you off course. Yes to patterns that pretend to be opportunities. But not all opportunity is obedience. Not all movement is momentum. Some roads look right but lead to ruin. Your energy is not unlimited. Every yes costs you something. The only question is, what are you trading in return? Ask yourself honestly, what have I been saying yes to that is stealing my focus? What do I keep tolerating that contradicts the future I say I want? Because you can't feed your dream while you're feeding every distraction. You can't build your masterpiece while painting everyone else's. Sometimes the boldest move is not to leap forward, but to let go. To say no firmly and unapologetically to the invites, the temptations, the pressure to prove. Saying no is not rejection, it is redirection. Every time you say no to what is beneath you, you make room for what is beyond you. So will you dare? Will you dare to shrink your circle, simplify your schedule, sharpen your focus? Will you dare to disappoint the world in order to obey your destiny? Because the reward for saying no is not just peace, it's purpose. It's access to the yes that matters most. Don't wait until your dream is starving to start feeding it with your focus. Protect your vision before it needs to be resurrected. Refuse distraction before it becomes destruction. You weren't made to be everything for everyone. You were made to be exactly what your purpose requires. So the next time you're asked, remember this. Every no today is preparing you for a greater yes tomorrow. And that yes, that divine, purposeful, soul-aligned yes will be worth every boundary you built to protect it. Delay gratification. Don't deny the dream. There is a powerful distinction between denial and delay. One kills the dream, the other cultivates it. And it is here, in this sacred waiting room called discipline, that destiny is quietly shaped. Most people confuse silence with absence, but a seed buried in the ground does not shout while it grows. It simply breaks itself open beneath the surface. Likewise, your dream may not yet be visible, but that doesn't mean it's void. It means it's maturing, hidden, protected, developing strength in secret. The future does not belong to the impulsive, it belongs to the patient. The world crowns those who dare to wait with wisdom and work while others demand quick reward. Immediate gratification is the diet of the mediocre, but greatness is built on slow-cooked purpose and the quiet grind of consistency. You must learn to say no to what you want now for the sake of what you want most. Faith is not merely believing when things are evident. Real faith is believing before the evidence arrives. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. That means your daily discipline, your hidden hustle, your private perseverance. That is the evidence. Every time you wake up and try again without applause, you are voting for your dream. The question then is not, can I see results, but rather, can I stay committed when I can't? Because true transformation occurs when nothing seems to be changing, but you refuse to stop, and suddenly one day the fruit appears, not because it arrived overnight, but because you refuse to give up during the drought. We live in a world of shortcuts and instant gratification, but while others microwave their moments, you must be willing to marinate your mission. Delay the comfort now, and you build the capacity for what's coming later. That uncomfortable space between sowing and reaping, that's where your character is forged. That's where warriors are born. The pain of discipline is temporary. The pain of regret lasts a lifetime. So choose your pain wisely. The price of waiting with purpose is far less than the cost of rushing with regret. Be the person who plants when the soil is dry, who waters when the sky holds no rain, who prays when the answer is still pending. That's faith. That's strength. Every day you delay the trivial, you invest in the eternal. Every time you say not yet to distraction, you say yes to destiny. You don't deny your dream when you delay your gratification. You demonstrate your belief in it. You prove to heaven and to yourself that the vision is worth the wait. So I ask you now, are you patient enough to keep going when the applause is silent? Are you focused enough to train when no one is watching? Are you faithful enough to build when no one believes? Because your future is not dead, it is developing, quietly, deeply, powerfully, and those who endure long enough to see it emerge will be the ones who one day look back and say, I'm glad I waited, I'm glad I didn't quit, I'm glad I delayed gratification, because what I was waiting for was always worth it. You can't have growth without grief. Every ascension demands a sacrifice. Every next level demands a letting go. You cannot stretch upward while clinging downward. Something, someone must be laid to rest for something greater to rise. This is not just poetic musing, it is practical reality. You cannot carry old habits into new heights. You cannot house an expanded destiny in the small rooms of old mindsets. Growth demands grief. You must be willing to mourn the parts of yourself you once celebrated. Old comforts, old conversations, old surroundings. They once served you, they once sheltered you, but now they suffocate you. And while you may feel the ache of their loss, understand their expiration date was a sign of your evolution. When Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead, the miracle did not begin with the command to come forth. It began with a much simpler act. The stone had to be rolled away. The barrier had to be removed. And so it is with you. You cry out for resurrection in your life, for new opportunities, new power, new seasons. But what stones are you refusing to move? What familiar pain are you still cradling as if it is part of you? Discipline is not cruelty. Discipline is pruning. And pruning is painful because it requires a knife to cut away what no longer belongs. Every branch that bears fruit, he prunes it so that it may bear more fruit. Without pruning, you do not grow strong. You grow wild. You do not become wise. You become weary. You do not become fruitful. You become frantic. You see, grief is the bridge to growth. It is the evidence that you are letting go of what no longer fits. Every tear you shed for the old is watering the soil for the new. But you must be brave enough to let the old version of yourself die, even if you loved it, even if you depended on it, so that your new self can breathe. So the real question is not, why is this so hard? The real question is, what is this hardship making room for? What is being carved out of your life so that something greater may find its place? You must be willing to trust the hands that prune you, to believe that every cut is a cut of compassion, not cruelty. That every loss is leading to a larger life, that every goodbye is preparing you for a greater hello. There is no growth without grief. There is no crown without a cross, no promotion without a pruning, no resurrection without first rolling away the stone. So today I urge you, stop clinging to the corpse of your former self. Stop guarding the grave of what used to be. Be brave enough to mourn what you must leave behind, but do not stay there. Mourn it, then move. Your destiny is calling, and it needs room to breathe. Make the space, move the stones, trust the pruning, and let the new life rise within you. because the only thing more painful than letting go is missing what you were born to become. Discipline is not restriction, it is refinement. You've been taught that discipline is a punishment, a limitation, a harsh master that demands submission and strips away freedom. But what if you've misunderstood it all along? What if discipline is not the enemy of your dream, but the engine, not a prison, but a pathway? Discipline is not about chaining your soul, it's about channeling your strength. It's not the removal of joy, but the refinement of focus. It is clarity in a world that thrives on chaos. It is structure in a culture that celebrates spontaneity. And without it, your potential leaks out in 1,000 directions, never building momentum, never breaking through. Imagine a river. Without banks, it spills into a flood, destructive, directionless. But with borders, it flows with power. It cuts through rock. It generates energy. Your life is no different. Discipline is the boundary that gives your purpose flow, force, and focus. It doesn't hold you back. It holds you together. We live in a world where boundaries are mistaken for barriers, where saying no is considered negative. But understand this, every no to distraction is a yes to destiny. Every line you draw is not a limit, but a lifeline. Without boundaries, your gift becomes diluted. Without structure, your calling lacks shape. A person without self-recreation is like a city with broken down walls, vulnerable, exposed, powerless. Without discipline, your talents become targets, your time becomes stolen, your mind becomes cluttered. But when you build the walls of self-mastery, you protect your peace, your power, and your purpose. You may say, "But I want freedom." Let me tell you the truth. Real freedom is not the absence of discipline. It is the result of discipline. The freedom to choose, to grow, to rise. That comes only when you have trained yourself to resist what pulls you away from your purpose. Do not confuse chaos with creativity. Do not mistake rebellion for freedom. There is no brilliance in burnout. There is no excellence in excess. The artists, athletes, and leaders you admire, their greatness was not born in an explosion of emotion. It was built in the quiet hours of repetition, in the unglamorous discipline of doing what needed to be done again and again. Discipline is refinement, the fire that removes impurities, the chisel that shapes marble into masterpiece, the silence that sharpens signal from noise. You want to shine, but are you willing to be shaped? Are you willing to show up when it's boring, when it's hard, when it's thankless? That's where greatness begins, not in the crowd's roar, but in the quiet decision to rise early, to say no to the unnecessary, to focus on the mission, to repeat what works until it becomes who you are. So the next time you feel resistance to discipline, pause, reframe it. Don't see it as chains, see it as the rails your dream rides on. See it as the scaffolding that builds your future. See it as the strength you've been secretly craving. Because the truth is, your dream doesn't need more hype. It needs more habits. And the difference between potential and power is discipline. So build the walls, set the structure, embrace the rails, and let discipline refine you until you shine. Stop waiting for motivation. Start moving with commitment. You keep saying you'll begin when the moment feels right. When inspiration strikes, when motivation finally shows up with fireworks and fanfare. But let's be honest, how long have you been waiting? Days, months, years? And in all that time, has anything really changed? Motivation is a fair weather friend. It shows up on good days, disappears on hard ones. It cannot be trusted to build your future. But commitment is different. Commitment doesn't ask how you feel. It doesn't need a mood swing to move. It wakes you up when comfort begs you to sleep in. It gets you dressed when doubt tells you to hide. It keeps you building when applause is silent and progress is slow. Commitment is the engine. Motivation is the wind. You keep asking for the fire to arrive before you gather the wood. But what if it's the other way around? What if the fire comes because you started stacking? The wood pile comes first. The preparation creates the conditions for the flame. Champions don't rise because they're inspired every morning. They rise because they've made a decision to move forward no matter what their feelings say. They don't consult their emotions to check if today is a good day to grow. They move and let the emotions catch up. Some of you are waiting for clarity, waiting for signs, waiting for someone to pave the way. But what if the path won't open until you do? What if it's your first step that unlocks the door? The Red Sea didn't part until the people walked. So why are you standing still, praying for a path when heaven is waiting on your movement? We often call our hesitation caution or even wisdom, but sometimes hesitation is just fear wearing a suit. Fear that sounds mature, sounds responsible, but at its core, it's just delay dressed in disguise. It's the voice that says, wait until it feels right, when the truth is, it never will. Commit to what you said you wanted, not just when it's exciting, not just when others are watching, but when it's lonely, when it's repetitive, when the results are invisible, because that is the birthplace of real strength. When desire fades, decision must take over. The ones who rise aren't always the most talented. They are the most committed. The ones who kept showing up, who kept pushing through fog and fatigue, who kept believing when everything else said stop, because as long as you delay, you remain stuck. The wilderness isn't your home. It's a holding place, but you have to move. You have to commit. You have to say, even if I don't feel it, I will do it. And when you do, something shifts. The ground starts responding. The wind changes direction, and your life slowly, powerfully begins to align. So stop waiting. Start moving. Let commitment, not motivation, carry you forward. Because your future isn't built on feelings. It's built on follow-through. Discipline is the bridge between calling and completion. You felt it, that spark deep inside. That unshakable whisper that told you you were meant for more. It wasn't random. It wasn't imaginary. It was a calling, a divine pull on your life. A vision that saw beyond your current state and spoke to your true potential. But calling is only the beginning. It is the invitation, not the arrival. Many are called, but few complete the course. Not because they lacked vision, but because they lacked discipline. Between the mountain of desire and the summit of destiny lies a long, narrow bridge. That bridge is called discipline. It is built not with bricks of emotion, but with the daily, deliberate choices that defy feelings and obey purpose. You will not arrive because you shouted the loudest. You will arrive because you stepped over and over and over again. Discipline doesn't ask if you feel inspired. It doesn't care about applause. It honors motion, quiet, unglamorous motion, the kind of movement that compounds, the kind of repetition that rewires, the kind of faithfulness that rewrites identity. You may not feel anointed every day. You may not feel chosen or capable, but discipline turns ordinary moments into holy momentum. It converts dull Mondays into divine progress, and slowly, without asking for permission, you cross that bridge. Not in a sprint, not in a parade, but in a steady walk of grit. You don't need more confirmations. You need more commitment. You don't need another goal. You need to remember why you set the last one. You don't need a new sign. You need to be the sign, a living testimony of what happens when someone refuses to quit. Too many start over, again and again, chasing the next big thing, jumping from spark to spark. But the spark is not the fire. The spark is the start, and only discipline keeps it burning. It's time to stop starting over. It's time to start finishing. The world is filled with dreamers, but it aches for finishers. Those who carry the assignment all the way through. Those who do the last lap, not just the first. Those who keep walking when no one claps, no one sees, and nothing moves. Let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. That's not a sprint, that's endurance. That's showing up when motivation has left. That's digging deep into the well of commitment when everything else has dried up. So ask yourself, what bridge are you standing on right now? What dream, what promise, what vision has been calling you to finish it, and what's stopping you from walking it out? Maybe it's fear, maybe it's fatigue, maybe it's the false belief that you need another sign, another green light, another emotional boost. But I'll tell you the truth, you don't need more hype, you need more habits. Lean in. Put your full weight on that bridge. Let your feet feel the strain of movement. Let your soul anchor to the rhythm of discipline. Because calling without discipline is noise, but calling with discipline, that's legacy. So walk, One step today, another tomorrow. No fanfare, just finish. The future is not reserved for the gifted, it's reserved for the faithful. Distraction is the enemy of destiny. It doesn't begin as a tragedy, it begins as a tiny detour. A quick glance at the news, a harmless conversation that lingers too long. But over time, the minor becomes major. The glance becomes hours, the detour becomes delay, and before you realize it, distraction has stolen something sacred, your momentum. Distraction is not passive, it is a thief, a cunning one. It doesn't always come with noise. Sometimes it comes disguised as rest. Sometimes it wears the mask of productivity. But every moment you invest in what doesn't matter is a withdrawal from what does. Every second spent chasing the trivial is a seed that never reaches soil. You cannot be powerful and distracted at the same time. One cancels the other. Greatness demands focus. Purpose demands pruning. If you truly want to build something eternal, you must be ruthless about what you allow into your life. Not everything deserves your attention. Not everyone deserves your energy. You say your schedule is full, but is it full of what matters, or is it filled with noise, clutter, and convenience? Maybe the issue isn't time management. Maybe it's priority misplacement. Your calendar isn't crowded because of your call. It's crowded because of compromise. You must learn to audit your attention. Track where your time goes, because that's where your life is going. What do you reach for in the silence? What captures your mind when no one is watching? Those small, unconscious decisions are building a reality. But is it the one you want? You want to be excellent. You want to rise. But you cannot rise while being pulled in 10 directions. You cannot carry a vision if your hands are full of distractions. The dream requires devotion, not occasional effort, but focused, intentional effort. What if your destiny is not waiting on another opportunity, but simply on your attention? What if the miracle you've been praying for is already within reach, but hidden beneath layers of distraction? This is not a call to eliminate rest. Rest is holy. This is a call to eliminate waste, the kind that drains your soul and blurs your path. Entertainment has a place, but when escape becomes a pattern, it becomes a prison. So ask yourself, who or what has become a daily detour from your destiny? What habit, what platform, what relationship is quietly unraveling your discipline? You can no longer afford to be casual. Your calling is too critical. Your purpose is too precious. The price of distraction is not just lost time, it's lost identity. You begin to forget what you were born to do, who you were born to become. But here's the good news. You can reclaim it. Starting today, audit your focus, clear the clutter, eliminate the non-essential, and give your dream the same attention you give your distractions. Because when you do, your life will change. Not someday, today. Your destiny isn't waiting on your talent, it's waiting on your attention. So focus, eliminate, commit, and watch what happens when nothing stands between you and what you were created to do. Pain is a prerequisite to power. You keep trying to escape it, to numb it, to outpace it. Pain. It creeps in when you least expect it, lingers longer than it should, and reshapes everything it touches. And yet, pain is not your enemy. It is your educator. It is the instructor that life assigns when growth becomes urgent and comfort can no longer carry you. Pain teaches what comfort never could. It strips away illusions. It silences the noise. It introduces you to yourself. When you're in pain, the masks fall. The distractions fade. All that's left is truth. And truth, though sharp, is the beginning of power. Every broken moment, every tear, every sleepless night, they are not wasted. They are preparation, training, refinement. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. The fire you're in is not meant to destroy you. It's meant to forge you. There's power in pain when it's used with purpose. Pain becomes the platform on which leaders rise. Your scars are not shameful. They are sacred. They are signs that you have faced the fire and lived to tell about it. And what you've survived, you are now qualified to guide others through. But pain alone is not transformation. Pain without reflection is just suffering. You must choose what to do with it. Will you let it break you, or build you? Will you let it define your life by what happened, or refine your life into something new? What if the thing you've been avoiding is the very fire meant to reveal your strength? What if your next level isn't on the other side of comfort, but hidden inside your current hardship? Growth doesn't happen when everything feels good. It happens when everything hurts and you choose to keep going anyway. Stop praying the pain away. Start asking, what is this pain preparing me for? What new strength is being shaped? What old weakness is being burned away? What part of your character is being carved into something deeper, richer, unshakable? You see, power doesn't come from titles. It comes from trials, from the moments you were tempted to quit but didn't, from the days you felt abandoned but still showed up, from the seasons you were crushed but still kept climbing. So don't waste this moment. Don't despise this season. Don't run from the fire. Stand in it. Learn from it. Let it teach you, temper you, transform you, because pain, when partnered with purpose, becomes the most powerful force in the world. And you are being prepared not just to survive, but to lead, to heal, to carry power with compassion, to turn your trials into someone else's testimony. Let it hurt, let it shape you, then let it lift you, because pain is not the end, it's the beginning of becoming. Consistency is greater than intensity. You don't need to go harder, you need to go longer. The world celebrates hustle and speed, but longevity is the true mark of strength. Many people start fast, sprinting into their goals with a burst of inspiration. But what happens when the excitement wears off, when the obstacles hit? Too often, that sprint ends in burnout and they crawl back into comfort, disappointed and disillusioned. You don't need more intensity, you need more integrity in your rhythm. Real power doesn't come from how hard you hit the ground, it comes from how faithfully you keep walking. One small step, done daily, is more powerful than one giant leap done once. That's the quiet strength of consistency. Small disciplines done consistently defeat big declarations done occasionally. It's not dramatic action that builds empires, it's the daily grind, the early mornings, the quiet hours, the routine that no one sees but heaven records. Proverbs 13:11 reminds us, wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. Apply this to every area of your life, your finances, your habits, your mindset, your calling. The ones who win are the ones who endure. You may feel like your pace is slow, you may feel unseen, unnoticed, uncelebrated, but if you are steady, you are sacred. Steadiness is strength. Think about a single drop of water. On its own, it's small, insignificant, but when it hits stone day after day, it begins to carve, not through force, but through faithfulness. Your life works the same way. Intensity is a burst. Consistency is a build. Intensity excites. Consistency transforms. The former starts the fire. The latter sustains it. So ask yourself, what would shift in your life if you simply kept going? Not perfectly, not dramatically, just faithfully. What if that workout became a lifestyle? That journal became your wisdom well. That prayer became your inner fortress. What if the vision you keep chasing isn't waiting for a breakthrough, but for your persistence? You don't need to impress the world. You need to be relentless in private. You don't need applause to stay consistent. You need conviction. Conviction that your process matters, that your steps are leading somewhere, even when the scenery hasn't changed. The greatest changes in your life will rarely come from explosive moments. They will come from subtle shifts, repeated actions, and quiet obedience, day after day, brick by brick. So are you willing to keep showing up, even when it looks like nothing's changing? Are you willing to stay on the path when progress feels invisible? Because that's when real transformation happens. In the hidden, holy grind, the world tells you to go big or go home, but wisdom whispers, go small and never stop. Because the river didn't shape the canyon in a day. It carved its legacy by simply continuing. You don't need to be intense. You need to be immovable. Keep rising, keep trying, keep sowing, keep walking, and one day you'll wake up in the middle of the vision you once only imagined. Not because you went harder, but because you never stopped going. The world is obsessed with achievement, the accolades, the numbers, the trophies, But you must ask yourself, what if the real reward is not the finish line, but the formation of who you become along the way? You see, the dream is not just about what you get, it's about what you give up, who you outgrow, and how you evolve. Each early morning you rise in silence, each temptation you deny, each moment you choose character over convenience. You are chiseling away the parts of yourself that were never meant to stay. You're not merely chasing success, you're being shaped by the chase. Ask yourself then, if you reached your dream tomorrow but did so by cheating, compromising, or rushing the journey, would it still feel like victory? Would the mirror smile back at you? What good will it be for someone to gain the whole world, yet forfeit their soul? That is not just a verse, it is a warning. Too often we measure progress by promotions, applause, and public recognition, but real progress is private. It's invisible. It's in how you respond to rejection, how you handle pressure, how you hold yourself accountable when no one is watching. That's the part of the dream that no one can applaud, but it's the part that sustains everything else. Because what you build outside will only stand strong if it reflects what you've built inside. If you construct a tower of success on a foundation of insecurity, it will topple the moment life shakes you. But if your soul is steady, your values are rooted, your spirit is resilient, then no storm can steal what's sacred. So don't rush the process. Don't idolize the results. Every season of waiting, every battle with doubt, every step that feels slow, it is not a delay. It is development. You are not just pursuing a dream. You are becoming the kind of person who can hold that dream with grace, gratitude, and wisdom. Because the dream, when it comes, is heavy. And if your character isn't strong enough to carry it, the blessing can become a burden. That's why the most important growth is not in your resume, it's in your resilience. Not in your income, it's in your integrity. Not in your image, but in your inner life. So reflect deeply. Are you growing in character or just climbing in status? Are you becoming someone stronger or simply achieving something bigger? Because if your dream grows faster than you do, it might crush you instead of crown you. True success is not when the world applauds you, it's when heaven approves you. It's when you can stand before your Creator and say, I didn't just finish the race, I became who you made me to be. So walk the path. Embrace the fire. Celebrate the small, quiet victories. For in the end, the person you become will matter far more than the prize you attain. That's not just success, that's transformation. Life rarely announces when you're drifting. It doesn't come with a loud warning, no sirens, no bright lights, just a slow, subtle fade. One missed alarm, one excuse too many, one compromise you thought wouldn't matter. And suddenly, you look up and realize you're nowhere near the path you set out on. That's the danger of the drift. It's not dramatic, it's deceptive. Discipline is what keeps you anchored. It is your internal compass. We must pay the most careful attention, therefore, to what we have heard so that we do not drift away. Discipline is that careful attention. It's what allows you to correct mid-course before you end up in the wrong land, building the wrong life. Think about a river with a strong current. If you're not actively paddling, you don't stay still. You get carried. Not quickly, not obviously, but inevitably. Drift feels like rest, but it's the quiet route to being lost. 1 week off your routine, one rationalized shortcut, one little neglect, and soon you're miles from where your values once rooted you. You don't drift into greatness, you drive into it. You set your hands on the wheel and check your alignment daily. Discipline isn't punishment, it's protection. It keeps your values in front of your vision. It reminds you what matters when life tries to distract you with what doesn't. Build the habits, keep the standards. Don't just hope to stay on course. Create the structure that ensures it. Without a system, your passion becomes directionless. And without direction, even the strongest dream dies in confusion. Discipline trains your mind to hear what matters. It keeps your spirit sharp. It tells your future, I'm coming on purpose, not by accident. When you stop checking your compass, you start drifting toward mediocrity. Not because you lack talent, but because you lack tracking. Ask yourself, where are you tolerating the drift? Where have you allowed convenience to replace conviction? What areas of your life have become loose, vague, or delayed? These questions aren't judgment, they're invitations to remember, to realign, to rebuild. The enemy of purpose isn't always opposition, it's often distraction. Not some giant fall, but a quiet forgetfulness, a delay in your discipline. And the only way back is through structure, through recommitment, through daily decisions to keep walking the path, especially when no one sees. Let your discipline speak louder than your desires. Let your structure carry you when motivation fades, because your goals are too sacred to be left to chance, and your calling is too vital to be steered by emotion. So don't underestimate the little "I'll do it tomorrow" whispers, because over time they become the stories of regret, not because you weren't capable, but because you drifted when you should have disciplined. And what is discipline? Truly, it's not harshness. It's alignment with purpose. It's remembering why you started. It's showing up again, not because it's easy, but because it's essential. It's what bridges your intentions with your identity. Let your structure become sacred. Let your standards become non-negotiable. Because the person you're becoming is being sculpted every day, not by massive effort, but by small decisions that say, I will not drift. I will drive. Purpose isn't something you stumble into. It's something you steer toward with faith, with focus, and with fierce, unwavering discipline. You can't be great without being grateful. You can master the grind. You can show up early, stay late, and outwork the competition. But without gratitude, even the most disciplined life begins to feel like a burden, because discipline without gratitude becomes drudgery. It's like rowing a boat with no view, pure effort, but no joy. You'll still move, yes, but you won't feel alive in the process. Gratitude doesn't erase the challenges, but it reframes them. It shifts your focus from what's missing to what's present, from what you must do to what you get to do. When you approach the same discipline with a thankful heart, the weight becomes lighter. The obstacles remain, but your spirit becomes stronger. What once felt like pressure begins to feel like purpose. Consider the difference between two people pursuing the same goal. One wakes up thinking, I have to do this again. The other wakes up thinking, I get to do this today. That single shift changes the entire emotional landscape. It turns routine into reverence. It transforms repetition into momentum. And that momentum matters. You may not be where you want to be yet. The mountain may still be high, the results still far, but pause. Look behind you. Remember the climb you've already made. Gratitude says, I may not be finished, but I'm not where I started. That awareness becomes fuel. It becomes your reminder that progress is worth praising. Even before the prize arrives, every breath is a privilege. Every lesson is a gift. Every step forward, even the small hidden ones, is worth acknowledging. Gratitude takes your current moment and adds weight to it. It turns effort into meaning, not because the task changes, but because you do. In a world obsessed with more, gratitude teaches you to see what's already here. It makes you pay attention to the people helping you, the growth inside you, and the windows of opportunity still opening in front of you. Gratitude keeps your heart grounded while your hands stay busy. But let's be clear, this isn't about toxic positivity. It's not about pretending everything is easy. It's about choosing to see what's good even when things are hard. It's about anchoring your effort in a bigger picture, one that includes progress, people, persistence, and possibility. When you're grateful, delay doesn't defeat you. Disappointment doesn't define you, because you're not just working for the reward, you're honoring the opportunity. You're not just chasing success, you're responding to life with reverence. You're saying thank you for this chance to try, to grow, to become. Think of the moments that once overwhelmed you but now seem small. Think of the doors that once felt shut but later opened. Gratitude helps you remember that many of today's blessings were yesterday's prayer, and that awareness keeps you humble, hopeful, and hungry. Greatness is not just built in grind, it's built in grace. When you learn to thank your way through, you carry a strength that doesn't crack under pressure. You become the person who not only reaches the finish line, but appreciates every step of the journey that got you there. So stop for a moment, breathe, reflect, celebrate what's working. Thank your past self for enduring. Thank your current self for showing up. Thank the process, even when it's slow, especially when it's slow, because this dream you're building, it's not just a reward, it's a response to everything that shaped you. And that kind of gratitude, that's what makes you great. You'll win if you don't quit. You're closer than you think. That's not just a feel-good phrase. It's a call to awareness. Most people abandon the journey just before the corner turns. They mistake silence for failure, slow progress for no progress, and fatigue for finality. But the truth is this: the finish line never waves a flag. It doesn't come with applause. It comes in the form of a question. Will you keep going when there's no proof it's working? You see, success is not an event. It's a test of endurance. Not a sprint to the spotlight, but a marathon through the shadows. Most people don't lose because they weren't gifted. They lose because they gave up too soon. They chose ease over effort, comfort over commitment, relief over resilience. But you, if you decide to keep going, you separate yourself from the masses. You become the one who makes it, not because it was easy, but because it was worth it. Here's the truth. Quitting doesn't make the pain go away. It just guarantees you don't grow from it. When you stop short, the challenge still echoes. But when you persevere, that same struggle becomes your strength. The delay becomes your discipline. The hardship becomes your heritage. Think of every obstacle not as an enemy, but as evidence that you are in motion, that you are fighting for something worthwhile, that you're not parked in mediocrity, but pressing into mastery. When it feels hard, it's not time to quit, it's time to dig in. Victory often comes disguised. It looks like a failed attempt, a long dry season, 1,000 unseen hours. But under the surface, the roots are growing, your consistency is compounding, your grit is being refined, and one day, sooner than you think, it will all converge into a moment that changes everything. Not because the world gave it to you, but because you refused to stop. Every day you show up when it's hard. You cast a vote for your future. Every rep, every word, every small act of defiance against quitting, it adds up. You won't feel it right away, but eventually it creates a tipping point. A moment where the work you did in private explodes in public. Not overnight, but over time. Perseverance is not loud, it's not flashy, it's quiet, steady, and relentless. It's the superpower most people underestimate, but it's the exact quality that builds empires, transforms lives, and turns vision into victory. Not perfection, not performance, persistence. And yet, it's not about blindly grinding, it's about staying aligned, checking in, asking yourself not just, am I tired, but am I still on the path that matters? If the answer is yes, then keep walking. If the answer is no, then pivot. But do not quit. You can rest. You can recalibrate. But don't forfeit the race you were born to run. Because every season ends. The fog lifts. The breakthrough comes. But it only comes to those who are still standing when it does. Your consistency is the signal that you're still in the game. And the game always rewards the one who stays long enough to finish it. So ask yourself, are you pausing or are you quitting? Are you breathing or are you breaking? Because your answer is writing your legacy. You've come too far, sacrificed too much, learned too deeply. To stop now would be to waste not just your time, but your transformation. Keep going, not for applause, not for ease, but because your future is still waiting to meet the version of you that never gave up. Don't just set goals. Build systems. Dreams are easy. Discipline is rare. And the bridge between dreaming and achieving is not built by passion alone. It's built by systems. Setting goals gives you direction, yes, but building systems gives you the daily momentum to actually arrive. A vision without a vehicle is just a fantasy. A goal without a system is just a wish. Anyone can say what they want. Few are willing to create the environment that makes it inevitable. You've made resolutions before. You've declared new beginnings with passion and fire. But without a structure that supports that passion, motivation fades. Emotion is a spark. Systems are the fuel. Think about it. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. The person who achieves their dream isn't the most excited. They're the most consistent. They've learned how to build a rhythm that carries them even when motivation dries up. The key is simple but profound. Diligence is not about working harder, it's about working wiser. It's about setting up your life so that success is the natural result of your habits, not the rare exception to your moods. Create a system for your focus. Design a schedule for your growth. Ritualize your rest. When you make excellence a habit instead of a hope, you remove decision fatigue. You eliminate the daily debate of, should I? And replace it with, this is just what I do. That's where the power lies, in automation with intention. Consider the great achievers throughout history. They weren't lucky. They weren't merely talented. They built systems, daily disciplines that produced greatness over time. They didn't depend on feeling good. They depended on being prepared. They didn't wait for perfect conditions. They created predictable patterns. Systems turn chaos into clarity. They transform lofty goals into tangible, repeatable action. They take your dream from something you talk about into something you live inside of. And here's the thing, your current routines are either pushing you closer to your dreams or pulling you further from them. There is no neutral. Your habits are either your allies or your assassins. Ask yourself, does your morning routine fuel the focus you need? Does your schedule protect the priorities you claim to value? Or are you relying on bursts of willpower to overcome a lack of structure? Because here's the truth. You don't need endless motivation. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment. You need better wiring, better systems. And the beautiful thing about systems is they work while you sleep, while you rest, while you recover. Build the system, let the system build you. Create a structure so strong that even on your off days, you're still moving forward, so that even when life gets loud, your foundation stays steady. Success doesn't come from setting a bigger goal. It comes from setting a smaller action and repeating it until excellence becomes inevitable. It's not about heroic effort. It's about humble, hidden consistency. So don't just set another goal. Build the system that makes reaching it unavoidable. Design your days like your dreams depend on them, because they do. And remember, discipline doesn't restrict your freedom, it creates it. Structure doesn't limit your creativity, it amplifies it. Build the system, trust the system, and watch your life transform, not because you tried harder, but because you trained smart. Master yourself and you master everything else. That's not a motivational phrase, it's a principle of power. The greatest victories in life are not over others, but over our own impulses. Self-control isn't about being rigid or cold, it's about being intentional. It's about knowing where your energy belongs and refusing to let emotions, habits, or temptations drag you off course. The most powerful people in history didn't always rule kingdom. They ruled themselves. While others reacted, they responded. While others exploded, they paused. While others followed every urge, they chose alignment. They didn't just show strength in their arms, they showed it in their choices. And that strength, it multiplies over time. Because true self-control doesn't suppress your potential, it protects it. When you can direct your attention, your desires, your time, and your energy toward what actually matters, you become unstoppable. Not because you're doing more, but because you're wasting less. Your progress isn't constantly being undone by unexamined habits. Think about the moments in life that made you proud. They weren't just when you pushed hard, they were when you held back. When you didn't say the thing you wanted to say, when you didn't spend what you couldn't afford, when you walked away from what felt good in the moment because you believed in what was coming later. Take a lesson from Booker T. Washington, who endured years of poverty and hardship, yet never compromised his standards. Through restraint, discipline, and focus, he built a legacy of education and empowerment for thousands. His control over impulse wasn't weakness, it was wisdom in action. Self-control is the difference between reaction and response, between chaos and clarity. It's what gives you space to think, to breathe, to make choices instead of becoming a puppet of your emotions. Without it, even the smartest plan will be sabotaged by the weakest moment. It's not flashy. It won't always be celebrated, but it's the inner engine of every successful person, because if you can govern your inner world, the outer world becomes much easier to navigate. The person who can say no at the right time, who can wait when everything in them wants to rush, who can pause when their pride is triggered, that person is walking in real strength. And here's the beauty. Self-control isn't about punishment. It's about power. It's not about limiting joy. It's about increasing focus. It's the ability to say, not now, because you believe in something better later. It's what turns ordinary people into extraordinary forces. It doesn't make life easier, but it makes you stronger. We often think the next level of our lives will come through addition, doing more, achieving more, acquiring more. But maybe the real upgrade comes from subtraction, from saying no, from resisting distractions, from walking away from comfort to claim your calling. The truth is, what you can't control will end up controlling you, your cravings, your habits, your temper, and slowly those small things begin to shape your entire life. But when you take back the reins, when you refuse to be dominated by impulse, you start living with intention. And intention is the seed of impact. So ask yourself, what are you tolerating that's weakening your focus? What small indulgence is robbing you of long-term excellence? What emotion or behavior is silently leading your life without your permission? You don't need to be perfect, but you do need to be aware. Because every moment of restraint is a step toward freedom. Every time you pause instead of react. Every time you stay instead of flee. Every time you delay instead of indulge. You're rewriting your future. Mastery doesn't begin on the outside. It begins within. And if you learn to lead yourself, no situation, no temptation, no storm will ever lead you again. You can't plant seeds of greatness in toxic soil and expect a fruitful harvest. You could have the best intentions, the most disciplined mindset, and the clearest goals, but if your environment doesn't support your growth, you will struggle to rise, because your surroundings shape your becoming. They either water your potential or drain your power. We like to believe we're independent of influence, but we're not. We are shaped by the voices we hear, the spaces we occupy, the habits we absorb from our surroundings. Look around. Is your environment helping you become who you're called to be, or keeping you stuck in who you used to be? It's not just about people, it's about patterns. Your room, your rituals, your routines, they are all loud signals to your mind about what matters. If your space is chaotic, your thoughts will follow. If your schedule is reactive, your progress will stall. You must take radical ownership over what you allow to stay in your space. The most successful people, those who left legacies long before our time, understood this. Thomas Edison. He didn't try to invent in a noisy, cluttered house full of distractions. He built a lab, a sanctuary of focused effort. That wasn't luxury, that was strategy. He created an environment aligned with his intent, and in doing so, he produced results the world still benefits from today. So here's the question. What kind of space are you building? Not just physically, but mentally and emotionally? Do the people around you speak life or drain it? Does your morning routine anchor you or unravel you? Are your daily surroundings pulling you forward or keeping you neutral? You can't fly if you live in a cage. You can't thrive if you're constantly exposed to stress, noise, comparison, and chaos. Sometimes the biggest shift isn't changing yourself, it's changing what's around you. This isn't about arrogance, it's about alignment. You are not better than others, but your vision might be bigger than what your current environment can hold. That's not judgment, that's stewardship. Your future is too valuable to leave unprotected. Even Jesus chose his inner circle carefully. He had many followers, yet only a few went with him to the mountain. Not everyone is meant to carry the full weight of your calling. Some relationships are seasonal. Some spaces are too small for what you're building, and that's okay. What matters is that you create sacred ground for your growth. So clear the clutter, remove the noise, rearrange your space so it reflects your standards. You don't need a perfect environment, but you do need a prepared one that supports your focus, one that reminds you who you are, not who you used to be. Your dream is delicate. It needs the right atmosphere to grow. Protect your space like your future depends on it, because it does. The energy around you is either lifting you or limiting you, so choose intentionally. Design your days like they matter, because they do. And when you create that environment, When your space reflects your standards, your rituals support your results, and your energy aligns with your intention, you won't have to force progress, it will start to flow. So ask yourself, what in your environment needs to change so your potential can breathe? What clutter, physical or emotional, needs to go? What new rituals need to take root? Because the harvest you reap tomorrow is directly connected to the soil you cultivate today. Discipline isn't punishment, it's power. And more than that, it's a profound act of self-respect. When you choose discipline, you're not just chasing outcomes. You're casting a vote for the kind of person you believe you are. Every choice to show up, to stay focused, to follow through is a declaration. I matter enough to be consistent. It's easy to treat discipline like a tool for achievement, but it goes deeper. It's a reflection of identity. You don't wake up early, avoid temptations, or keep your commitments just because you want results. You do it because deep down you believe your time, your energy, and your future are worth protecting. Design your days like they matter, because they do. And when you create that environment, when your space reflects your standards, your rituals support your results, and your energy aligns with your intention, you won't have to force progress, it will start to flow. So ask yourself, what in your environment needs to change so your potential can breathe? What clutter, physical or emotional, needs to go? What new rituals need to take root? Because the harvest you reap tomorrow is directly connected to the soil you cultivate today. Discipline isn't punishment, it's power. And more than that, it's a profound act of self-respect. When you choose discipline, you're not just chasing outcomes. You're casting a vote for the kind of person you believe you are. Every choice to show up, to stay focused, to follow through is a declaration. I matter enough to be consistent. It's easy to treat discipline like a tool for achievement, but it goes deeper. It's a reflection of identity. You don't wake up early, avoid temptations, or keep your commitments just because you want results. You do it because deep down you believe your time, your energy, and your future are worth protecting. Think about that. Every time you keep your promise to yourself, you're building trust with the person in the mirror. And that trust compounds, because if you can rely on yourself in the small things, you'll have the foundation to move mountains in the big ones. Nehemiah, a man determined to rebuild what had been broken, understood this. Despite distractions, mockery, and threats, he stayed focused. When asked to come down from the wall to address his critics, his response was powerful. I am doing a great work, and I cannot come down. That wasn't arrogance. That was alignment. That was the posture of someone who knew the value of their mission. That kind of resolve only comes from respect, from a refusal to trade purpose for pettiness, from understanding that your energy is sacred and your time is a treasure. And if you're serious about what you're building, then not everything or everyone deserves access to your attention. Discipline is the quiet way you honor that truth. It says, I'm not living on accident. I'm moving with intention. It turns boundaries into blessings. It transforms schedules into signatures. Because when you truly respect yourself, you no longer ask, do I feel like it? You declare, this is what I do. The results are just the byproduct. The real win is becoming the kind of person who keeps their word even when no one's watching, who shows up even when it's hard, who doesn't just demand respect from others, but models it through their own consistency. This isn't about perfection, it's about presence. It's about taking yourself seriously enough to stop negotiating with your potential, to stop making excuses for your goals, to stop breaking promises to yourself that you would never break for others. Ask yourself, if someone treated your time and goals the way you do, would you feel honored or dismissed? Would you trust them or would you feel devalued? When you set a schedule, keep it. When you commit to a habit, guard it. Not for the applause, not for the outcome, but for the integrity of your own soul. Because discipline isn't a grind, it's a form of gratitude. It says, thank you to the version of you that dared to dream. And over time, that daily respect becomes visible in your health, your focus, your confidence, your relationships. Because when you carry yourself with honor, life begins to respond in kind. So what would change if you began treating your time like treasure, your schedule like your signature? What would shift if every act of discipline wasn't a chore, but a choice to love yourself better? Discipline isn't just something you do, it's someone you become. And every day you have the chance to show the world and yourself that you are worth the effort. The finish line is a decision, not a destination. You keep looking ahead, waiting for a sign, a moment, a breakthrough, waiting to feel like you've arrived. But what if the finish line isn't somewhere out there? It's right here in this very breath, in this very choice. What if success isn't a point you reach, but a posture you choose? We're conditioned to chase milestones. We think, once I achieve this, then I'll feel successful. Once I get there, then I'll be enough. But that mindset puts power outside of you. And the truth? Power was never meant to live out there. It lives in you. Victory doesn't show up with confetti. It begins the moment you say, I'm all in. The finish line isn't just about outcomes. It's about ownership. It's the decision to become the kind of person who finishes before you ever see the reward. It's waking up and walking in purpose, not because conditions are perfect, but because your conviction is present. That's real faith. Not passive, not waiting, but bold, decisive. Helen Keller. She didn't wait for the world